Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. Today, we're continuing our conversation with Kunal that we started last week. In the previous episode, we covered all the basics of crypto, saw things like what is Bitcoin, how it is different from all the other altcoins that are out there, and how you can get started investing in this industry. If you haven't seen that episode, make sure to tune in below. In today's episode, we're going deeper. We'll be covering topics such as the strategic crypto reserve that Trump has created and what that means for the rest of the industry. We'll also be talking about crypto cycles, what they are, and why meme coins are really popping off in this one. If you want to know more about these topics, make sure to tune in and listen to the rest of this episode. See ya!
I want to go a bit more into current market trends. Can you tell me some trends that you're super excited about right now? And can you also explain what are the different cycles that crypto usually goes through?
Yeah, so I think let's start with the cycles and then work to what I think is exciting at the moment because they're kind of like hand in hand. With Bitcoin, I don't know why exactly. This is part of the mystery behind Bitcoin, but there's a lot of synergy in how the Bitcoin cycle works with the rest of the macro world. And what I mean by this is Bitcoin, the way it's programmed, it rewards miners who validate the network with Bitcoin. And since the beginning, the reward that's given to miners that validate a block has been halving about every 4 years. So the reward, I think, was 6.25, now it's 3.125, whatever. These rewards get halved. We had the halving for the last one around April last year. And so in that halving, you effectively take the natural supply of Bitcoin, because miners, they get the Bitcoin as rewards, but they need to use that Bitcoin to keep running their machines and whatnot. So you have a natural supply coming into the market, which should be sold, most of it, if the miners aren't too rich. That reward gets halved, which means you're reducing the supply every 4 years. Even if the demand stays the same, that should automatically mean an increase in price. Simple supply and demand. And Plan B, who's a famous analyst, is from Holland. He's done a very famous model called the stock to flow ratio, stock to flow model, which tracks the current demand and the supply coming into the network and where the fair value of that should be and how it should move up. And every 4 years, this thing jumps up. Now, obviously, the price doesn't work in that way, so it kind of deviates around what the fair value is. So it'll go up really high and fall down really low. When you look at it in the long term, it has roughly followed what this stock to flow model is showing. How if you halve the reward, that should lead to a jump in price for that 4-year period, if nothing else changes. And so this cycle happened. It's programmed into Bitcoin.
And that has always, that has always been the case as well.
Yeah, from the beginning. I think the reward gets less and less and less and less. I think Bitcoin's around till 2140, I think.
Okay.
When it reaches its final, if you like, you reach 21 million all mined. I don't actually know what happens after that. I'd figure out once or twice, but not too confused. Come back to that at some point. But it's a long way away. And so this is what happens with Bitcoin. And really, what I used to think was, regardless of what's going on anywhere else, it will just follow this path. Now, that was, I think, a simple way of looking at it, from the previous cycles from 2017, 2020. cycles. What actually is happening is, yes, this cycle is powerful, but it's actually, and Raoul Powell, like I mentioned earlier, he's done a lot of work to show how this is all joined up. It's actually in line with all the business cycles. So, and also, at the same time, pretty much lined up with like US election timing and things like this. So all of it seems to be happening around the same kind of 4-year window. And in terms of business cycle, what that links down to a lot is debt. The whole system is based on debt. All money is effectively debt. And the debt that countries have, they need to, just like how we remortgage our houses to get the next good period and lock in a good rate for the next 4 years or whatnot, companies and governments are doing the same thing. And the amount of money that gets put in and interest rates, it all follows a similar kind of cycle when you zoom out. And so that actually has a huge impact on these cycles. But yeah, if you look at it purely from a Bitcoin point of view, the halving is what leads to this natural 4-year jump in price every cycle. And so the first cycle was a lot around just Bitcoin and altcoins and seeing what goes fastest and furthest, seeing which altcoins really work. I think the cycle kind of after that, we got into all of this NFT business. So you had your Bitcoin and then your altcoins, but then NFTs were a big part of the narrative in the previous cycle. This cycle, you still got your Bitcoin, you still got your altcoins. In the meantime, there's also, as I mentioned, like layer 2s and other things happening as well. But now this cycle, there's a lot around meme coins. These things that could really just go up huge amounts because they're not worth a lot, like penny stocks, if you like.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is the narrative right now. So that's probably what I'm most excited. Because I've been in crypto for a long time, because our bigger positions have done okay over that time.
Yeah.
I'm in a fortunate position where, yes, I can say that a big part of the portfolio is, the main fan Bitcoin, Ethereum, and like mentioned, Solana, Chainlink. But then I can buy like a whole load of altcoins, which are fairly blue chip, that, I think are going to do okay, but I'm not sure which one. So I can buy like 5-10 of them and put an equal amount in each. And a lot of them probably will go, lose 50-60%, but hopefully 2 or 3 of them will be 5xing, 10xing, or whatever it is. So that's a strategy I can use because I've already got a good portfolio that's in there for a while and has done okay and still the biggest part of the portfolio. That would be like a normal way of looking at it. If you've done well over time and long enough, then you can start to get even higher up the risk curve and say, like, take an even smaller part of your portfolio and just say, right, buy 2 or 3, not like 10, because otherwise it just gets too diluted. But just pick 2, 3, or less than a handful of meme coins. So I've used that approach where I can just put in some amount in various meme coins. So you've got the standard ones like Dogecoin and like Dog with Hat and Bonk. These like the dog kind of coin this off Doge. But then I've got now this Toshi I mentioned is one of my big plays. I also have like SPX 6900, GigaChad. These are a couple of big meme coins in the space right now. And I even picked up some of the Trump official.
Melania as well, or
Huh?
Melania as well, or on
Just the Trump one.
Just the Trump one.
I picked that up. It went up, doubled, and then it's crashed back down. It's these things couldn't happen with these kind of meme coins. But it keeps it interesting and exciting. So yes, I'm always excited about Bitcoin, and I'm always going to talk about Bitcoin and trying to get people into Bitcoin. My family, for example, I've twisted the arms of my father-in-law, my father, my brother, brother-in-law, just twisted everyone's arm, and any friend that would listen to me. I kind of just banged on about it and just said, you should do it. And then we got to a certain point, we have these WhatsApp chats where we kind of like argue about various things, politics, other things, a little bit too much. I'd be like, all right, enough, too much. So I just look, every now and then I'm just going to mention it. And I'm just going to say, DM me. So not in the group chat, but just please reach out to me.
Yeah.
To know more. And so, I helped a few friends as well get on board. But for them, it's really just Bitcoin. And I'm pushing and a few other blue chip altcoin. And I'll give them what meme coin, what high risk play I'm kind of just got my toe into.
Yeah.
But make it clear that it's just one of those, this 100x's and you'll feel really smart and that'll be a really nice thing. But don't worry about it. It's just 1%, 2%, whatever. And just build up your Bitcoin. And so meme coins are exciting, and that's what is exciting for me in this particular cycle. But actually, Bitcoin is really exciting this cycle because even without all the stuff that you've got now in the news and what's happening out there, it's exciting to me personally. But what we've got coming out with the ETFs that were launched earlier this last year with BlackRock, and then all these other companies kind of joining on board and making that available through exchange traded funds that people can get in their normal brokerage accounts. And then effectively now with Trump making it part of the strategic reserve in the US, these kind of global events give it a huge amount of credibility that even without that news, like I mentioned earlier with the stock to flow, I didn't expect it to be following a certain path. But when you get that kind of news on top and get it so early, I thought this kind of stuff was 5-10 years away. In terms of acceptability and where it might get to. When it comes so quickly and so soon, then it's like you kind of look at those models and think, well, this could lead to some kind of super cycle. Maybe it doesn't, but it could really blow it out. So actually, Bitcoin is right now hugely exciting, and yes, it's going down right now. It has been for a few weeks since after Christmas. But I think it's in a good place. It's ready to explode. And the good thing about it is if Bitcoin explodes, the rest of the crypto also explodes with it. It kind of drags it all along.
I have a couple of questions. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you go for it. Yes.
Yeah. So first one I have is meme coins. How do you decide which one to pick? Like, do you have any kind of strategies you use or criteria? And then the second one is, like, let's say a coin is doing really well. At what point did you decide, like, you want to sell some of it to gain some profit? Like, what does that look like for you?
I mean, start with that one, the last part of the question, and come back to which ones. So I think with the planning of how you're trading, you really need to be really disciplined. Might haven't been for a long time, and you kind of get you get a little bit emotionally attached to some coins, and you hold them for longer than you should do, and you never really want to hit the buy and sell. The sell button, because you have to think about that very carefully because there's tax implications when you sell it, and things like that as well. So quite often I'd want to sell something to rotate into some other coin or vehicle, but actually you can't, because if you do sell it, you get a bill to pay for the tax that year, but the money that you want to use from that sale is actually to buy something else. So you don't actually have that cash to pay the tax bill because you want to put it in something else. So you have to make quite calculated decisions on when to sell. But if you stay, what I do is I look at the chart pattern. Say it's a more short term trade. I'll look at the chart pattern, see what I want to get in, see where my target is, and then the platforms themselves have their own take profit levels where it automatically sells at a certain level that you define. That's if you're doing trading. But even if you are doing trading, if I'm buying it from all, I'm going to hold this for weeks or maybe months to get to a certain level. So it's not like a leveraged trade. It's a buy, and then I'll look to sell it in a few months. Even so I just make sure I have a spreadsheet that tracks all this stuff. I'll have my levels in there so that I know that, okay, it's approaching this level. I should consider selling. And when, in all honesty, I haven't sold a lot.
Oh yeah.
I've sold some that just, really not done very well and just taken the loss eventually, but just held them for a long time, just assume that they were zero and saw if they come back, because I use the approach of the big chunk of it is what I actually have conviction in. Here's a small amount that they're just a gamble, really just a punt, and they'll probably go to zero. I won't look at the site, whatever. I've still got a few random coins of this and that, which doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So it's just about the discipline of following it and trying to take the emotion out of it. It's like if you send to yourself and put on your tracker, whatever you have, spreadsheet, whatever, or even in the online platform, is just set that stop loss and take profit and just let it happen.
Yeah.
If you move it, then you're getting emotional and it starts to go all wrong.
Yeah.
What was the first part of the question? I forgot.
Yeah, like what's your strategy on investing in meme coins? Like, do you use any analysis or anything?
So with the meme coins, like I said, stocks you have to concentrate a lot more on the fundamentals. With crypto, it's a lot more on the technicals, and that's just really what I do. Look at the charts. With meme coins, it's on another level. It's literally, yes, you look at the charts. Yes, you look at a lot of the meme coins. What happens is they get launched on these platforms. They go up like literally 100x, 1000x in like an hour or two, or within a day. And if you haven't caught it then, you're done, because whoever's launched it, it's a pump and dump speed. They'll start selling it after 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, and it'll just go back down to zero.
Yeah.
And so some will be around the same level, and you're not sure what to buy, but it literally they all just spike in and spike out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And because a lot of them are just anybody can create meme coin, just launch it, and then just disappear, and then you're done. You take in your cash from anybody who's invested for those first few hours or first day or two, and then you're gone. So it is a bit sketchy how it works. But anybody, so I don't do that. I have considered just dabbling in that just as for a bit of fun here and there, and seeing, if you can get just playing with very small numbers, because that's super, super quick and risky. So I haven't done a lot of that, but what I have done is looking at the coins that have been around for at least few weeks.
Yeah.
9 days, at least be like a few weeks. So you know that they're not going to be completely rug pulled underneath you.
Yeah.
With everything going zero. And then you do the same things. You look at the charts and everything else. But when you talk about the fundamentals with the meme coins, what you actually have to go and do is you actually have to go into the community. So you have to see, what is their Twitter account like? What is their Discord like? What are they doing on their website? How much engagement are they getting? Can you see a real community there? It's almost like research to kind of like infiltrate, a gang or something, and see if that gang really is doing something, or if it's got just bots, or just there's nothing there. It's all the smoke and mirrors. And then so you see which ones have more activity behind them, which ones you think are more sustainable, and then you kind of like, if the charts back it up and the story, the narrative makes sense, you kind of go with it. And a lot of it is down to the platform that they're on. So a lot of these meme coins are on Solana, but there's some on the Base network, which I mentioned, Toshi, that's on Base. So the synergy that I have with Toshi at the time, this was like a year or two ago, everything was a dog coin. So it was Doge, it was Sheeb, it was all these other things.
Yeah.
And there were one or two cat coins out there. Toshi was one of these ones, which was, okay, it's a cat, it's Toshi, like Satoshi, that's it. And it's Brian Armstrong's cat. Brian Armstrong is the guy who runs Coinbase. Yeah. So like, okay, there's a few things here. It's like Coinbase, we think Base is going to be doing good as a network because they already have a huge amount of users, 100 million plus users from Coinbase, the actual platform where you go on and buy and sell crypto. They haven't launched a Base coin, but they do have a Base chain. And Toshi is one of the meme coins that's on this Base chain. Brett was the other one that was big on it. And so if you just catch the ones that are popular in those certain chains, that's another way to do it. So the fundamental you're doing analysis is not what's behind the coin, because typically there's not anything behind the coin. They do try and add utility in now Toshi is doing quite a bit actually. But it's actually the fundamentals that you look at are how many users it has, how is it working on the network, how is it in terms of other coins on that network, what's the narrative behind that network, and such. So there's a different type of fundamentals that you look at than you would do even to another crypto, and definitely to a stock or anything else. Largely based on community.
Yeah. So you've mentioned before that you were quite bullish on Bitcoin. You were really excited about Bitcoin. Are there any other cryptocurrencies that you're really excited about or you see real potential in?
For me, like, it is Bitcoin. The answer just keeps coming back to Bitcoin. Because that's one way I have the most conviction, if you like. But I think a lot of these other coins are going to do well. So I think Ethereum is actually very undervalued at the moment. Because it's been the one that's had the limelight with Bitcoin for a long time, it's almost like forgotten about and it's not sexy. Everyone wants to get the new sexy one.
Yeah.
So they're forgetting that actually the base Ethereum network is actually quite undervalued. And when everything else does well, Ethereum will do well and it will probably outperform most things. So Ethereum is actually going to be something I think that is going to do very well. Solana is the other one that's getting into the limelight as some alternative, cheap, faster way than Ethereum to do a lot of things. It's just that a lot of the activity on Solana is actually driven from meme coins. It's not driven from real value anymore things. Anything else that's of real true value at the moment, that's a wide generalization, but most of it is built on Ethereum still, because it has been from the beginning. And so some of those layer twos and things will also, I think, do very well. Sui is the other one that's actually, if you like, what Solana is trying to do, take market cap away from Ethereum, Sui will be doing to Solana as well. And so there's I think with that chain of Ethereum, Solana, Sui, then that's going to be a good bet for this cycle still. I mentioned I have Chainlink is one of the ones that I've believed in quite a lot. From the beginning, it's one of these ones that link real world contracts and things to the blockchain. I think that's got a lot of legs still. It's been around like literally from the beginning. So it's lasted, and hopefully it'll do a good pump this time around. But apart from those, there are lots of other good altcoins out there. I've shifted because I've got a bag of a few of them, like Arbitrum and Hedera and Stacks and others, Unique. They're all good projects and good DeFi kind of applications and things. I think a lot of them will do well, but you don't really know which one will and how. So just took like an even spread across a lot of them, or slightly more or less on which ones I had slightly more conviction on than others. But I put actually a lot of what I've got now, because I can go behind risk curve, into some of those meme coins that I mentioned. Because I haven't realized a lot of gains on a lot of the stuff, but I'm in a position portfolio wise where I can be more leveraged towards some of the risk meme coins. So if the ones I mentioned around the meme coins, then I actually think, I'm going to look at those to do the 50x to 100x kind of plays. Because I'm confident that Bitcoin will do like a 4 or 5x. I'm confident that some of these other main chain kind of coins might do like a 5x. Maybe up to 10x if you're very lucky. But you're in that kind of ballpark. You really need to get into meme coins to get to 20, 50, 100x. And so that's where I'm like, okay, I've got enough positions, if you like, in the boring, for anybody else, super risky. They're in the Bitcoins and Ethereums, etc. So I'm more excited about like the Toshis, the SPX, the Giga, these types of meme coins, which are crazy. It's not advisable to put any money into them really, but that's where I am. Just that of how I can balance my portfolio that way.
You've done like the base stuff now, and now you're moving into the more risky because the base will be fine. I think which is a decent
Yeah,
strategy.
it's still a small part, right? So
Yeah.
you're not messing with the base.
Yeah.
The fundamental
is
stuff, the
solid.
big part, you keep there. This is the
Yeah.
play to how you can influence that portfolio where, now all of a sudden I've got more risk. But in the
Yeah.
end, these plays, if they work out to like a 50x, even one of them,
You just need one of them to work
all
out.
proceeds of that is eventually going to go into buying more Bitcoin
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and building up
Yeah.
that base bigger.
Yeah. And just quickly, I want to ask, what are your thoughts on the Trump coin, as well as Trump announcing that he'll be buying stuff for the crypto reserve or something?
Yeah, so the Trump coin is classic meme coin, right? It's like,
Okay.
it's just, that's what you equate it to. It's got no intrinsic value or anything behind it. It's not a platform that does anything or whatnot. It's just a coin launched by a celebrity kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or a meme behind it. And that can do well. I think it actually still might do well. It went out the minute, like I said, crashed, but everything's crashed right now.
Yeah.
I think it's got, a community because of what he's doing right now and because he's so big into crypto. And I can see a lot of MAGA events or merchandise having some level of discount maybe from the fact that you have Trump coin and the Trump official coin. So I can see some utility coming to it. But it's effectively just a meme coin at this point, and that's how I treat it. And one of these things that, if it 5x is 10x is brilliant. If it goes to 0, it's fine. It's just having something just to say you don't missing out on some big potential gains from it. But in terms of what he's done right now with the digital asset reserve, that I think is a big game changer. Like, honestly, like I mentioned, like the big events like the ETF last year is huge. I think that's been hugely positive, and that's led to the run that we've had right now. That's been a massive influence in that run already. And I think it's got a lot more to go because yes, it's been made available, and yes, people are buying the ETF in certain ways, but insurance, with pension funds, none of these bigger institutions are actually still able to buy it yet. Once they start buying it and all start allocating 1%, 5%, whatever to their portfolios through the ETFs, it's going to have a huge impact on the price. So I think that's hugely positive. What Trump's done with the digital asset reserve can have the same kind of effect, probably even bigger even, because once countries start doing this game theory, and once one country starts to say, right, I've got this reserve of this particular asset, it's one of these things where there's no choice. Like, what is Europe, China, Russia? What are they going to do? They're not going to have that reserve. Like, if US starts stocking up on gold or oil, they have to do it. Just from a security point of view, they have to stock up themselves.
I didn't even think of that.
So this
that's a
could
very
lead.
good point.
Yeah, this could lead to a big squeeze in terms of like now, and when countries buy, they're not just buying 1 or 2 Bitcoin or 0.1 or point whatever, but they're buying like thousands, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of Bitcoin. They're not messing around. So it's going to have, I think, a positive effect in the long term. I think the good thing that has come out recently is when the announcement first came out, it started with just, we're putting in, I think, XRP, Solana, and Cardano into a digital reserve. No mention of Bitcoin or Ethereum. And then a follow-up tweet said, and obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. But it was that was a bit confusing. First, it was great that, great, we're going to get this reserve. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. Like, this could really change the game. But it was a bit of confusion. Like, why is all this other stuff in it? And what's come out afterwards is that there will be a Bitcoin reserve. That's clear, and that's what they're going to use as the main strategic reserve for the 200,000 coins that they already have that are confiscated from criminal activity. Interestingly, they actually had like double that, like near 500,000, which they sold up to this point, which if they hadn't would be worth something like 17 billion in terms of value that they basically
Yikes. Yeah.
lost by selling it too early. So they're going to hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they have said for the Bitcoin reserve and Bitcoin reserve only is they will allow for the government effectively to find net neutral ways of adding to that stockpile. So as long as there's no taxpayer money being spent, no net spend on it, you can increase that stockpile. So for example, if you sell one asset, gold, and buy Bitcoin, so you're not taking any money from the taxpayer, you can increase the Bitcoin reserve.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
And Senator Loomis, part of her Bitcoin bill is not only to have we're not going to sell the 200,000 that we have right now, but it's to get up to 1 million Bitcoin by the US
Eventually.
by
Yeah.
2030, I think.
That seems very
So-
fast.
It's effectively buying week by week a certain amount for the next few years until they get to, let's say, a million Bitcoin if they reach that target or not.
Yeah.
That's a steady demand coming in. And they can do things like sell the gold to get that or sell something else, or
Yeah.
they could print money in some way to fund it and do whatever
Yeah.
dodgy government stuff that they can do. So that's
Mhm.
great. And so I can't see that as not being positive. And that's just the
Yeah.
US. Like I said, other countries would just have to start buying
Yeah. And
in some
people,
way as well.
other countries
the
usually
other
follow
thing is
US.
these other coins that were confusing as to why they were added to the reserve. They made it clear, or they are making it clear, of splitting between a commodity, a currency, a security, and a collectible. So it's kind of like I went through a list of the types of crypto that they are.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is a commodity. It's like gold. It's decentralized. There's no owner of it. There's no CEO that you can go to or whatever else. So it's a commodity. It's by itself. That's why it's got its own reserve. The other coins that are US-based companies, effectively like Ripple and Cardano and Solana, etc., those are securities. So they have to do their reporting. They have to do their regulation and compliance and everything else. And for those, what they've said is they are just going to keep what's been confiscated or recovered from criminal activity and various other things. So whatever amount of Ripple or Cardano, etc., that they have, the strategic reserve for those is just going to keep them and not sell them. But it's not going to be allowed to acquire more Ripple or Solana or anything else through any other means other than recovering it from crime or whatnot.
Yeah.
So that at least makes it a little bit clear about how they're different, because otherwise you get into the thing of, well, the US is now playing as its own stockbroker. It's now going to buy Tesla stock or,
Yeah.
it can start doing that stuff. That's good. It starts getting to a bit of a dodgy gray area. And then, like the other things that they're splitting up to is you've got commodity security, you've got currency, which is basically like the USDT, USDC, like stablecoin. And then collectibles is where you can throw all of this NFT, meme coin, and all that other stuff into. It's not like the value and security in a way. It's really just a collectible and with no intrinsic value.
Cool. I think we've been going on for quite a bit now, so I want to go into the closing section. And one question I want to ask you is, like, for the next decade, if you only had to pick one cryptocurrency to invest in, which one would it be and why?
Can you guess what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Pretty obvious by now, yeah.
Always Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
even for me, like everything else that I've just mentioned, it's all it means to get more Bitcoin. In the end. Yes, there might be some companies that end up like, let's say Ethereum, ends up being a big one, a very good one, like, in the long term. It's just going to be one of the others that are out there. But really, it's like you want to have the real hard money, the real
Yeah.
property, and that is Bitcoin. And so, by far and away, and the easiest answer is yes, Bitcoin. That is the one to hold. If I could only have one thing, it would definitely only be Bitcoin.
So a question we basically ask all of our guests, because Adi and I, we actually really like reading. We also like podcasts, all of that. Is our guest's favorite book. If you don't have a favorite book, maybe you can also recommend your favorite podcast, or you've mentioned a few YouTubers before that you like listening to. Do you have any
Yeah.
other?
So from a book set, I don't actually read too much. I'm trying to read a little bit more, but
Yeah.
just sound like a broken record. There is a book called The Bitcoin Standard, which is definitely one that anyone should read to like get their head around it. I actually read one recently, crypto related also, called Bitcoin Billionaires by Mezrich. This was a story of the Winklevoss twins and how they got into to crypto, and I just thought it was a good read, and would be a fascinating one for anybody who's interested to just understand how it all started, how it's moving into where we got to now. So I think that's a fun book to get into. But as you said, and as I've mentioned, a lot of the stuff that I do comes from this space. The community with crypto is a lot around YouTube and Twitter, Rex. So kind of people that I follow, like Jack Mallers of Strike or Cassie Wood in ARK Investments, doing a lot around Bitcoin. But there's great podcasts with Natalie, Brunell, Coin Stories. You've got Coin Bureau podcasts. Invest Answers is a good one that's very technical. And then a load of other YouTubers and influencers. I didn't mention everybody, obviously, in going through this conversation, but an easy way maybe to see who they are is my handle on Twitter is just at Kunal Lohia. And what I do is effectively anything that I find from all of these good sources, I'll just retweet. And so my tweets are, I don't try and say too much. Like I got told off by friends, like just trying to indoctrinate people and all that kind of stuff. So Alicia, I'll just repost and say hashtag Bitcoin or hashtag Solana.
Yeah, right.
Just let the repost kind of do the talk.
Yeah.
So a lot of resources you'll see through that feed. But some of the YouTubers definitely, like I mentioned, Kevin Svensson is one that I heavily rely on. Alicia, Carl Moon, Benjamin Cohen, Plan B, all these people are really, really helpful when you're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, sounds good. And lastly, is there any final message you would like to leave our audience with? This could be a plug for something you do, or like mentioning your socials, or anything you really want to say.
I think what I like to, so this was just an initialization about crypto and like just my kind of take on risk or some of the different assets and things around. But I'd say that for anybody kind of listening to this, they have some level of interest around the topic, and we're getting to the point now where I would say genuinely it's now getting to the point where it's irresponsible to not learn about it. It's getting, certainly from an individual point of view, it's getting to that point. I'd say from a business point of view, we were already past it. Like while I was CEO of that digital consultancy, I put Bitcoin on our balance sheet. I could only do it for a short time, for a small amount, just so that I could show that it's, doing what I was saying before, that had to stop. But it's definitely irresponsible if you're in finance to not know and understand about it. We're getting to the point now where as an individual, it's almost irresponsible from an individual to not at least do some work to understand it. So just learn, just watch some stuff, content, read some stuff about it, even go to some meetups, whether it's crypto meetups and things, just to understand. That's, I think, the most crucial and important thing. I've, like I said, twisted my family into doing it. I'm not going to strong arm that much, but at least do something. It's not, I think it's getting to the point where it's not okay to say, oh, I don't understand that weird stuff. It's all too complicated for me. You need to start doing it because you are going to be losing out on a generational wealth opportunity. And it really opens your eyes up to how the rest of the world works, how money actually works, how debt actually works, and how we are being screwed. Like your money is becoming worthless. You're working longer and longer hours.
Yeah.
The money that's becoming more and more worthless. The government is effectively stealing the money from you through inflation, and nobody understands it at all. We talked about inflation in the last few years because of COVID and inflation and all cost of living going up, but nobody understands that that happens at a base level all the time.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'd say is I've not covered this, but from a just freedom and retirement point of view, there's ways that you can look at investment vehicles around crypto and other, just even stocks and things, for people to consider that I would also encourage to look at, to really see what you want to get out and what your investments can do, because people don't do the maths on it enough, which they should. I have, and I'm testing it now, but it's actually more achievable than you'd think. But it means that you have to kind of really question, do you want a Lamborghini or a mansion with a yacht and whatever else? If you want those things, no, you better keep working and you better keep doing other side hustles and make sure investments work out as well. But if you don't really want your fancy cars and luxury houses and stuff like that, and it's too expensive a watch or whatever it is, it's your particular thing, then you can get to a sensible number that's a realistic number of what you actually need to earn in life.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do as a job cannot or should not be the only thing that gets you to that number. Your investments, whether it's just pure money in the bank, whether it's property, whether it's shares, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's gold, that should help you to get to that number.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I think I'd strongly just encourage people to have a think about and figure out ways of doing that. Mark Moss, one of the YouTubers I didn't mention, talks a lot about Bitcoin. He's also done a really great retirement planner that kind of helps you calculate some of this stuff out. So I've plugged that a little bit as well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think those are some great messages that you mentioned, and I definitely resonated a lot of them. But yeah, thank you so much, Kunal, for coming on the podcast today. I think it's been so informational for me, and I'm sure for Tong as well, and for our audience. Just thank you for coming and for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. And you did the wrong thing, which is giving me a mic to talk about crypto as you don't want on about it.
Yeah.
So I hope that wasn't too much for the audience.
No, for sure.
All
not.
good. Thank you so much, Kunal.